For true football fans, the passion is always high when their favourite team is playing. However, when it comes to a regional or national derby against their arch rivals, interest is always on the rise. The teams in these derbies are never playing just for the price of 3 points, it is much more than that. It's about the pride of the fans, the club, and often the whole city. However, there are examples where many other factors are involved in a derby, which for some is just a football game like any other. No, not even close. This is the history of the biggest football rivalries. The Manchester Derby. The Manchester Derby between Manchester United and Manchester City is one of the most exciting matches in English football. The rivalry dates back to 1881 when the two teams first met, but it really took off in the early 20th century. Initially, Manchester United, the Red Devils, dominated the domestic scene, especially under the legendary leadership of Sir Matt Busby and later Sir Alex Ferguson. United's success in the Premier League era, with numerous titles in the 1990s and 2000s, cemented their status as the city's leading club. Yes, during this period, United won more or less every Manchester derby, with fans even chanting, "Manchester will always be red." That is, until an Arab investor came along and rescued Man City from obscurity in English football. The balance of power began to shift in 2008 when Abu Dhabi United Group bought the Citizens. That significant investment transformed City into a footballing powerhouse, and soon after they won their first Premier League title in the 2011-12 season. It was a season marked by two key moments in the rivalry: City's 6-1 thrashing of Manchester United at the start of the season, followed by a famous last-second winner from Sergio Aguero. Since then, Man City have largely been the undisputed kings of Manchester, making the United chants of the 90s and 2000s seem almost irrelevant. Nevertheless, Man United remain the team with the greater legacy despite City's recent dominance. Derby della Madonnina, Milan vs Inter. The name may be unfamiliar to some, but the Derby della Madonnina is actually the Milan derby between AC Milan and Inter Milan. Named after the statue of the Virgin Mary at the top of Milan's Duomo, this rivalry epitomizes the culture and social divide in Milan. AC Milan, founded in 1899, has traditionally attracted working class supporters, while Inter Milan, founded 9 years later, is perceived as the club of the bourgeoisie. There have been many heated moments in this fierce rivalry. One of the most notorious was in the quarter-finals of the 2004-05 Champions League, when Inter fans, disappointed by their team's poor performance, threw flares onto the pitch, forcing the match to be abandoned. The main casualty was Milan goalkeeper Dida, who was unfortunately hit on the head. Another notable clash was in 1967, which ended in a mass brawl involving both players and fans. In the 1990s and early 2000s, AC Milan were undoubtedly the biggest team in Italy and one of the biggest in Europe, winning numerous Serie A titles and Champions League trophies. Inter, on the other hand, enjoyed a period of dominance from 2006 to 2010, culminating in a historic treble in 2010 under Jose Mourinho. Right now, they are in another period of big dominance against their arch rivals, even producing their biggest win over Milan for 15 years in the 2023-24 season, triumphing 5-1 at the Giuseppe Meazza. El Clásico, the matches of all matches, the El Clásico. Real Madrid versus Barcelona is certainly the most watched, most attended, and most talked about derby in the world of football since football became popular. It embodies a range of differences between the capital Madrid and Catalonia: political, cultural, regional, and, of course, footballing. The rivalry began in 1902 when Real Madrid was founded, and the intensity of the derby grew over the decades. Barcelona, a symbol of Catalan pride and identity, often clashed with Real Madrid, seen as a symbol of Spanish centralism and establishment. Of course, when it comes to football's most popular rivalry, there have been plenty of heated moments in the past. In 1943, Madrid's 11-1 victory over Barcelona in the semi-finals of the Copa del Generalissimo was marred by accusations of political pressure. This was largely due to the rule of Francisco Franco, who was said to have given Real Madrid support and financial backing. The rivalry reached a new level in the 2000s and 2010s, especially during the tenures of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo as the two stars of both teams, and Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho as the masterminds on the sidelines. One of the most memorable encounters was Barcelona's 5-0 win in 2010, which demonstrated their dominance under Guardiola. Conversely, Madrid also had their moments of triumph, such as the 4-1 win in 2007 to 2008 that underlined their superiority at the time. Red Star Belgrade versus Partizan. Speaking of fierce derbies, we can't overlook the fiery Balkans, home to some of the biggest and most spectacular rivalries in the world. The eternal Serbian derby between Red Star and Partizan Belgrade is certainly one of the biggest examples. Born in the aftermath of the Second World War, both clubs were founded in 1945, Red Star by the Yugoslav Army and Partizan by the Yugoslav People's Army. This historic clash reflects the deep-rooted cultural and political differences in the region. One of the most notorious incidents occurred in 1999 when a massive brawl broke out between players and fans, leading to numerous arrests and temporary suspension of the match. Another intense moment came in 2014 when flares and fireworks from the stands forced the match to be stopped several times. Crvena Zvezda, which is Red Star in Serbian, enjoyed a period of dominance in the late 1980s and early 1990s, culminating in their European Cup triumph in 1991. Partizan countered with a period of success of their own in the early 2000s, often winning domestic titles and asserting domestic supremacy. The peak of this rivalry often coincided with the periods of dominance, highlighting the intense competition for the top spot in Serbian football. In case you were wondering which of the two is more popular, according to a survey conducted in Serbia, Red Star are the most popular club in the country, with 48% of the population supporting Crvena Zvezda. North London Derby. The second English derby in today's video is the iconic Arsenal vs Tottenham derby, which is always heated and incredibly spectacular. Looking at the stats over the last 3 years, Arsenal and Spurs have always put on a great show, with the North London derby often attracting the most attention from the fans. The last time the two sides scored only one goal in the North London derby was, well, back in August 2021. Since then, the two teams have met 5 times, scoring an average of 3.4 goals per game in that time, which is a testament to both teams' derby prowess. The hostility between the Gunners and Spurs began in 1913 when Arsenal moved from South London to North London, closer to Tottenham's home ground. The rivalry intensified when Arsenal were controversially promoted to the top flight in 1919, leapfrogging Tottenham. One of the most memorable moments in the history of the North London derby came in 1993 when Arsenal's Tony Adams scored the winning goal in an FA Cup semi-final, sparking wild celebrations. Another memorable clash came in 2002 when Arsenal clinched the Premier League title at White Hart Lane, Tottenham's former home, to the fury of the Spurs faithful. El Super Clasico. And from one of football's most vibrant regions, the Balkans, we move to another, South America, and specifically Argentina. The biggest rivalry there is the Super Clasico between River Plate and Boca Juniors. Both clubs were founded in the working class neighborhood of La Boca at the turn of the 20th century, but River Plate moved to the more affluent Núñez district and the El Monumental Stadium, intensifying the class divide and the rivalry. The Super Clasico is arguably the fiercest derby in the world, with many arguing that only Scotland's old firm rivalry between Celtic and Rangers can match the Boca Juniors River Plate clash. Unfortunately though, in the Super Clasico derby there are often tragic moments. The tragedy of the El Monumental Stadium in 1968, when 71 fans died in a brawl, remains a grim memory. Another intense clash was the Copa Libertadores final in 2018, which had to be moved to Madrid's Santiago Bernabeu due to fan hooliganism, highlighting the violence of the rivalry. Boca Juniors were dominant in the 2000s, with stars such as Juan Román Riquelme leading them to several national and international titles. River Plate, on the other hand, enjoyed their heyday in the 1940s and again in the 2010s, with Marcelo Gallardo at the helm and 2 Copa Libertadores titles to show for it. The Old Firm. A rivalry steeped in political, religious and footballing conflict. Yes, the Old Firm derby between Celtic and Rangers is truly one of the most iconic and intense rivalries in football history, and one of the oldest. Originating in the late 19th century, it's deeply rooted in religious and political divisions, with Celtic traditionally supported by the Catholic community and Rangers by the Protestants. This sectarian backdrop adds a unique and often controversial edge to the encounters, so it's safe to say that the Old Firm derby is often just cause for Rangers and Celtic fans to clash, and that winning the game isn't even the most important part of the encounter. However, when talking about a memorable title win, Rangers can definitely boast one, winning the last league title of the 20th century in a direct clash against their arch rivals. In 1999, in a match named the Battle of Ibrox, a number of players were sent off and invaded the pitch after Rangers ran out 3-0 winners. Another infamous incident occurred in 1980 when a post-match riot at Hampton Park led to a nationwide ban on the sale of alcohol at Scottish grounds. And what about you? Can you think of other fierce and iconic football rivalries from all over the world? You can give us a clue in the comment section for part 2. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode, go and check our latest upload you see on your screen now, or subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and until next time.